All right, we're back. Thank you so much for tuning in. We're going to be starting here in a momentarily. We'll give people time to log in, to come in and grab you a seat and all of that. Hope you guys, we made it. We're at the end of another week. Hope you guys, hope it was a good one for you. And if not, hey, we still made it. We crossed the finish line together. Okay, so let's take great appreciation for that. Well, today we're going to get into a very serious topic, and we're going to be dealing with, mental health. We're going to touch on that again, and this is a very important topic, and it's one that impacts just about all of us. And I got some examples that I'm going to show you. So we're going to give it a minute to let people come in, and then we'll get started. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you again so much for tuning in to our broadcast. And I hope you guys, like I said earlier, hope you had a wonderful week. And if it was some bumps in the road and you got some bruises and all that, well, hey, we're still here. We still made it. Okay. And we're doing just fine all in all at the end of the day. We're going to be just fine. So anyway, today's topic, we're going to talk about, it was a couple of things that came down my timeline that I want to take a look at, online. Okay, let's rewind a little bit. This week, I did a video talking about what is culture, right? And then we defined that, and then we went on to see, okay, what is Black culture? Because you got a lot of people out here that are throwing around all kinds of different terminologies and stuff. And then typically it starts and stops with hip hop and swag. It usually stops with those two things. That's it. But culture, as we learned in that broadcast, it's a lot deeper. The roots are a lot deeper than just music, how you dance and how you dress. It's a lot deeper than that, or at least it should be. And so when you look at culture as it's traditionally defined, culture will pretty much touch on all the key points that we as individuals, regardless of your race or your background or whatever, that you need, in order to grow and to be a well-rounded, healthy, well individual, right? And that's typically what culture will offer, regardless across the board. Most cultures anyway, as long as they're built on those foundational points that we pointed out in our broadcast that we did the other day. Now, when it comes to Black American culture, we do have some of those traditional pillars, but there's others that are not there, right? And we've talked about that as well, but it doesn't mean that we're a broken culture and no, it's not that at all. It just simply means, hey, listen, this is something that we need to focus on so that we can fix these things so that we're not continuing on some of these bad legacies. You understand what I'm saying? That's been passed on over and over again. Now, when it comes to, the amount of trauma that we as Black Americans particularly have faced in this country, it's not something to take lightly. It's not something to, just to kind of brush away or to proudly beat your chest and say, well, we built different. No, we are human. Okay. And humans have needs just like any other human being. And what we have done in this culture is that we have told ourselves over and over again, okay, we just going to have to handle it. It's just another thing we just going to have to handle. It's just another thing I'm just going to have to carry. It's another thing I'm just going to have to deal with. The whole family, I can't take time for myself, because if I take time for myself, then, then the whole family is going to fall apart, so it can't, I can't carry, I got to carry everybody. This has been a staple, if I would say, of Black American culture, where you have certain individuals that feel like the matriarch type that feels like they have to carry everything. And no, that's not healthy. It is not healthy. And let me tell you something. You do not have to carry everything. I don't care what you have told yourself. I don't care what mama told you. I don't care what your grandmother told you. I don't care what your grandfather told you. They may have said on their deathbed, hey, listen, make sure whatever you do, you make sure you watch after Junior. You make sure you take care of him. Make sure you protect him. I cannot tell you the amount of stories that I hear from my fellow Black Americans where we hear this over and over again. And hold on, let me see this right here. So Mark G is going to go. I tell you what, you can go to where you're trying to send me. Okay, so we're going to ban you. And we're going to let you go. You see this? This is what I'm talking about, mental illness here. Okay. But anyway, let's get back on track. So you got a lot of individuals out here who are dealing with this type of situation like I just gave you, is that you people feel as if they have to carry everything. And unfortunately, this has been a staple within Black American culture. And we should talk about it, but not just talk about it. What can we do to correct it? Right. But first, what I want to do is there is a video clip that I would like to play for you that came across my timeline, and I want us to take a look at it. And then after, you're going to hear this man speak, and then after he says what he's going to say, then there's going to be another man that's going to come behind him to give him some advice. Okay, and let's take a look and listen to the video here. And then we can go ahead and go from there, okay? And then I'll add my cents, if you will. I don't think it's going to be just 2 cents. It's going to probably be a little bit more than that. But let's take a listen to it, and let me pull this up for you.
Bro, I'm just angry. I don't get how the wicked can live, how they live. And I have to struggle. And I've been trying my hardest to move with a pure heart, pure mind, pure intentions. And I've been struggling all my life. It's so unfair to me that I have to be broken to be close to God. Make it make sense.
So this video came on my timeline and broke my heart. He's basically saying the wicked have good lives. They're rich, they have what they want, they can buy what they want. But I want to say this, brothers and sisters. Just because you see people on camera flaunting money, flaunting things, boasting in themselves, it doesn't mean that they're happy in private. In all actuality, they're chasing a void. That's why they keep doing those things, so that void could be fulfilled. But it's only filled temporarily. You, my brother, have eternal life. Don't fall into the wicked one's trap, making you feel like you don't have enough, when in all actuality, you have everything. You have what they're searching for. You have true gold. You have true wisdom. You have spiritual liberty. These different individuals are in bondage. They're in chains spiritually. That's why a lot of different people who are completely rich will take their own life, because they don't understand why the void in them still isn't fulfilled. Let me give you some scripture. James 1:12. Blessed is the man who perseveres under trial, because when he has stood the test, he will receive the crown of life that God has promised to those who love him. So there's going to be a trial. There's going to be a test. There's going to be temptation. But what do you do? Let me show you. Matthew 24:13. But he who endures to the end shall be saved. So we endure to the end, my brothers and sisters. No matter how big the storm, always understand that the Lord is walking on water right there, and you can walk on water too, as long as you stay focused on him. Don't allow what you see in person to strike you. Understand who you have and who is within you. When you start paying too much attention on the outside, you start forgetting what's on the inside. God is with you, my brother. God.
Okay, so appreciate y'all for whoever who just came in, and I hope you didn't miss that first part of the guy that he's commenting on. If you missed that, just rewind a little bit so that you can get the full context. Now, if you have somebody, particularly a male, a man, that's in your life, I would really encourage you to make sure that they're watching, because I'm getting ready to say something, and it's something that needs to be said. Okay, it's something that desperately needs to be said. Now, I'm not, in what I'm about to say, I'm not attacking anybody, especially this guy that was just speaking. So this is not, should be seen or interpreted as any kind of attack. But let me speak as someone who was in the church, not in the church. I'm not a Christian. I'm not in that, any of that. Okay. But I do have years of experience with this. Okay. Both as that man that we saw weeping in the car, because I've been there, and to some measure, I still deal with that. Watching people who just are just evil. It seems like they are always prospering and doing well. Meanwhile, on the other hand, I got to fight for every coin. I know what that's like, and I know many of you know what that's like as well. But especially for black men, it does hit a little bit different, because as a man, you are someone that is supposed to be a provider. And when you're not, and when you're pushed into a situation where you're doing everything, you think you're doing the right thing. You're always doing the right thing. You see other people stealing and doing all this stuff, cutting corners, not doing this and that or whatever. But yet you trying to do the right thing. You ain't dipping and diving and all of that. But still, it seems like it just ain't working for you. I know what that's like. I know exactly what that's like. And I know many of you know what that's like. And I know I got our sisters in the house. You know what that's like. But I want to speak to brothers. I want to speak to men on this one. Because a lot of times we don't hear from a lot of men on this particular topic that we're going to touch on. But I definitely want to touch on it. So let me just say this. Number one, scriptures don't put food on the table. Okay? Yeah, thank you, Peace of Mind. Exactly. Scriptures do not put food on the table. Scriptures do not pay bills. They do not. We live in a real world. We don't live in a virtual world. We live in a very real world. And in a real world, there are things that you have to do. There are things that, unfortunately, you're going to have to experience. One of the things that the church has done to cripple the black family, and particularly black men, is, hey, listen, you're just going to have to keep on focusing on this invisible man and this invisible person, because at the end of the day, it's going to work out for you. Well, I might as well tell someone, just go to the casino and keep going every day, because one day you're going to win. That's the same probability. Because if what is this man was telling this brother in the car, if that is what he's basically telling him, is no hope. He's basically saying, hey, listen, just keep holding on. And one day it's going to all work out. Well, then go to the lottery, go play the lottery then. It's about the same chances. Because if there was a connection between, well, you just got to pray a little bit harder, you got to push and you got to press a little bit harder. If that was the case, if it was based on effort, if it was based on how you pray, if it was based on how much you fast, if it was based on that, we would have a lot of people not in our hospitals. We would have a lot of families that were together again. We would have a lot of people that wouldn't have any financial problems. That's just, can we just talk real for a second? You want to know why men ain't in the church? Because it doesn't work. It doesn't. It doesn't. And people are tired. And this is the kind of same thing that we we said through slavery, just keep holding on. One day they're going to figure it out. One day they'll pass the Emancipation Proclamation. And then after that, there's one day they'll pass the Civil Rights Bill. One day. Are you tired of one day? I know I'm tired of one day. It doesn't work. It doesn't. And for anybody that will in the house, you come in, I know you're going, some people are going to say, well, you know how, brother, it was this one time I prayed and I was able to miraculously, something happened. Okay, good. But how many other people do we have out here who did the same exact thing and nothing happened? And what's the response that typically is given by people in the church? Well, there was probably a little bit of something extra in your life that you were missing. You didn't, then some people go even further and say, well, did you really give everything you supposed to give in that offering? It's the same stuff. And what I'm telling you is that no, the church isn't equipped to handle this issue where you got this man really fighting depression. And I got some other examples of depression we're going to talk about. But let's pause here for a second. Here you got this man. Let's pause and go back to this man. In fact, let me play that video again, because I want to make sure that everything that I am saying to you in this broadcast, it doesn't go in one ear and go out the other. I'm just going to play the first part, the first half of that video. Okay. If you allow me to do that. And then we're going to come back because there's something I want to make sure that we definitely get on this. Let me see. What the heck did I do with that thing here? Oh, yeah. Is this it? Okay, here it is. Let me play this. And it's gone. I don't know where. Okay, it's right here. Hold on. I'll just move it over here. Is that under downloads? Let's see. Yes, under downloads right here. I'm just going to play the first part.
I'm just angry. I don't get how the wicked can live, how they live. And I have to struggle. And I've been trying my hardest to move with a pure heart, pure mind, pure intentions. And I've been struggling all my life. It's so unfair to me that I have to be broken to be close to God. Okay,
let's just stop there for a second. Okay. So what I want you to realize is this is going back to what we were talking about when we were talking about culture, right? And specifically when we were looking at Black American culture, we talked about, you remember in the latter part of that broadcast, I was talking about how Black American culture, because the way we're structured currently, a lot of what holds Black American culture together is the internet. We are the highest users when it comes to social media. And so in a culture that is sound and solid, you're going to have people that you can physically go to. You're going to have elders. You're going to have different ones in your household, in your family structures that you're going to be able to go to and express what this brother was expressing in the car. But what you see as you go through the internet is more and more of people that look like us, people of our culture, people of our background that oftentimes will turn to the internet to express things that really, truly should not be expressed on social media, but should be expressed to someone who is professionally able to handle that. You understand? And so what we're seeing today is a deluge of people who are fighting depression. And because the structures aren't there, they have to turn to TikTok. They have to turn to Instagram. They have to turn to Facebook. They got to turn to some of these other social media platforms that, by the way, we don't even control. We don't even control these platforms at all. But when you listen to a lot of Black folks, they act as if we control it. You're calling it Black Twitter. That's like me saying Black Walmart. There is no Black Walmart. There's Walmart. And the Waltons own that. It ain't us. Same thing with Twitter. It's like we Black Twitter. There is no Black Twitter. It's Twitter, or now X. Do you understand what I'm saying? So you're voicing these deep-rooted seeded things and you're putting it on a platform where anybody at all can come in and add their 2 cents, especially folks who mind ain't even sound. You got some people who are contemplating ending it all, and then enough people in the comments will say, do it, do it, do it, do it. This Raja dude, for example, Raja Jackson, we mentioned that. What was that, a short I did earlier this week? Did you know that he was, for years, had been complaining about headaches? Before he went into the ring, before he stepped at that event where he just went off, he was doing a live where he was complaining about excessive headaches and how he was throwing up. And his father, Quentin Jackson, who goes by Rampage, he mentioned a couple of things. He mentioned that his mother was murdered. Raja's mother was murdered. He also mentioned that Raja experienced a head trauma. So you got 2 traumas there that this young man is dealing with. And so his father puts him in a sport where you're going to get more trauma for sport. His father also will, if he doesn't do well in that sport, has insulted him over and over and over and over again. This is all on video. His father also on video will favor his Asian children over him. And while he's saving money and stuff for his Asian children, he's telling Raja, hey, you're going to have to work for everything you get. His father told him, hey, listen, I put money to the side for my Japanese children because I know they were college material, so I know they're going to go to college. But for Raja and my other black son, well, I put money to the side for them too, but it's for bail money because at some point they're going to go to jail. See, this is what I'm trying to tell you. He's not an exception. I wish he was an exception. But this is the kind of dysfunction that goes on in a lot of quarters in what we call Black American culture every day. It is not a sum total of all black folks. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that. But this is something that we see a lot of and is expressed a lot on social media. Why? Because social media is in fact the de facto or the default pillar that's holding the culture together. Social media is. This is what makes it so dangerous. And it's something that we got to address. Not to mention everything at all that comes with social media addiction, such as short attention spans. And then there's other stuff too that we can point to. So a lot of the trauma things that we deal with, it's crowdsourced. It's literally the whole, Roman emperor, with the thumb up or thumb down. You got people making critical decisions about their lives based on the amount of thumbs up or thumbs down they get on a post. This is baked into the culture. And it's something that, and again, we're talking Black American culture, but Black American culture is the only one. There are plenty of other cultures that are experiencing the same thing. What I'm looking at are the numbers. And what I'm saying is the numbers tell us that Black Americans lead in the amount of dependency they put on social media. That's what the numbers say. And that's what we're looking at. Okay. You got Asians that engage and stuff, all kind, it's the whole gamut. But we have to look at the numbers and we have to be honest. Now, let's get back to what I was saying earlier about the whole church thing and how the church is set up. The church is not set up or equipped to handle people that are dealing with depression. They're not. The church is about one thing, pacifying people and controlling people. This week there is a trend that's going on right now on TikTok where you have Black women who are now just figuring out, they're saying, you know what? I don't think the church wants us to be married because there's so many single Black women in the church. And I was like, wow, I'm glad she's figuring it out now. But yeah, that the church is not about that. The church is not about at all trying to necessarily bring families together. It's about controlling families. I don't care how many years you've been in church. I've been in church for many years too, and I can tell you that is what it's about. And by keeping people single, keeping people in a perceived vulnerable state, women and homosexuals, lesbians, you keep them in a what you call a vulnerable state, you can control them. When you're dealing with particularly men who are straight, more often than not, it's pretty difficult for another man to come in and to control them and tell them what to do. It's pretty difficult to do that, especially when that, not just because he's straight, but also if he's a man that is solid and has a track record of being solid. Do you understand? And the church is a feminized organization and is not equipped for that. So again, I'm not going to sit up here. I used to listen to that for ages. I used to listen to people talking about how, you know what? Trouble don't last always. One day soon, all you got to do is look up to the sky and one day he going to give you an answer. One day you're going to do that. Aren't you tired of that? I'm tired of that. And then you want to get up and talk about how he, greater works than these, how he do. We're going to lay hands on the sick and we're going to watch them recover. If you just take one step, he's going to take two. Well, he's been taking a whole lot of steps since slavery. We like, hey, wait up, hold up, player, hold on. Hey, we back here. We have to start being honest. It's just not being disrespectful. It's being honest. And I don't hate folks in those situations because, hey, listen, for us, many of us, that's all we knew. But reason why I want to say this now is because of the fact that I want to prevent others from wasting most of your life buying into that. And then at the end of your life, you have nothing to show for it. I was listening to someone just recently talking about the millions and millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars, that Black American families have poured into these institutions, and we have nothing to show for it. Absolutely nothing to show for it. Think about all these billions of dollars that Black American families have poured into these ministries, poured into these churches. Do you want to know, the other day, I know some of y'all followed that story about that pastor. I can't even think the man's name and really don't care not to. But this week they had a major bust. Human trafficking. Did I not tell you? I said, y'all, at some point it's going to come out. These churches, you think it's nowhere in the world you can have places like Atlanta can have all that human trafficking going on and no church is not involved in that. Remember I was telling you that? Remember I said that? Well, this church, this ministry I'm talking about, they weren't in Atlanta, but they were in the South. And then also he had a church. It was somewhere else. I can't think of it right now, but he had multiple locations. Long story short, I think it was like, was it 50? I don't know the numbers, but basically it's a major bust of human trafficking. Now follow me on this. Major bust of human trafficking. I was listening to the news reports on this, and they were talking about how, it looked like a converted hotel. I mean, when I saw it, I was like, it's a hotel. But yeah, it was. In fact, it was. I'm pretty sure it was because what they were doing is that they were telling followers that, listen, if you're going to be a part of this thing, you got to be all the way bought in. And what they were doing was having, one of the things they had them doing was, what was it? Having them working call centers. For years, I used to joke about how call centers was like the bottom of a slave ship, because that's what it felt like. I'm saying that as someone who worked in call centers for years, okay? So I know what I'm talking about. But yeah, one of the things they were doing is had them working, I guess, call center contracts, and basically had them working. And you remember the other day, I used this analogy. I talked about how Black folks, I said, when we came over in slavery, what we have to understand is we were brought over to a work site and we were told that we have to build an entire, if we're going to build a culture, the culture has to be built with the scraps of the work site. And I said, here we are in 2025. We are still on the work site. This wasn't some joyride trip that we volunteered to come over to. Oh, you know what? I heard that the grass is just so beautiful and the air is so clean. And they got fruit trees all over the place and plenty of land that we could. Black folks went talking like that when they threw us on the slave ships. Yes, the Jewish people. And I'm not, notice I didn't say white. See, I'm not falling for that. No, it was Jewish people. Okay. They were intricately involved in the trade. So let's course correct on that. Okay. We're not going to just broad brush on that. Nope. Sephardic Jews were part of that. Okay. So get that in your head. Okay. We're not going to be broad brushing here. Okay. So anyway, no, we didn't think that at all. So we were brought over here to figure out how to build a some type of culture on a work site. And here we are in 2025 still doing this again. They say, oh, no, you want a place to sleep? Okay, you're going to sleep here on the work site. You want a place to eat? Whatever scraps the work site has for our main employees, if there's any for main employees, they're going to get the main food. For you, whatever scraps we have that we normally throw out, that's going to be your food. We had to build off of that. You understand what I'm saying? We had to build off of that. You're going to have a family? Okay, well, y'all figure it out, but you're going to have to build it all here on the work site. And why am I bringing this up? Because this guy, this preacher that I'm talking about, he told his people the same thing. He told them the same thing. He said, y'all ain't leaving here. He told the people, listen, you're going to work and you got quotas that you need to meet. And once you're finished your job for the day, you're going to go upstairs because we got rooms up in here and this is your new home. Modern day slavery. Modern day slavery. Same thing. Same scenario. And then it was some other stuff and it's still coming out. They were talking about he was requiring like emergency contraceptives. Gee, what the heck is that? Emergency contraceptives, among other things. Right? And so anyway, then you got, I mentioned in the group, Christine, I think I posted in there, William Murphy's church down in Atlanta. Someone's got a lawsuit on him and his ministry. Same scenario. People said they force us to work and force us to sleep here and have us eating moldy food. William Murphy. Praise is what I do. While he's singing that, he got slaves in the back. Ain't that something? Ain't that something? And these are just two that they caught. Now, why am I bringing these two stories up? I'm bringing these two stories up because, again, this is the final revelation of what church really is to black folks. It's about control. That's what it's about. And when you're in a lose-lose situation, yes, they're going to keep telling you, oh, one day you're going to get your freedom. One day, someday, one day, someday, one day, someday, one day, someday. That's all they're going to tell you that. Meanwhile, they're going to say, then the ladies' executive board, they're going to say, we want to bless Pastor because the car that he has right now, it's kind of dusty a little bit. And we want to get him a Rolls Royce. I can't tell you how many times I've been in churches like that, giving this man off. Bruh, I had to take the bus. We didn't have Uber. We didn't have Uber, okay? We had the 9A bus, okay? But this is the mindset. It's about control. It is not about building men. It is not about showing men how, despite the way the system is structured, you can still find a solution and you can also build a solution. That's the other thing I want to mention. Like I said, I'm going to play these other videos in a moment. is listen, for every man out there, especially men, and I'm women too, I'm speaking to y'all too, but especially you men, and I'm especially this young man that was in that car crying, saying that, I gotta be broken to be. No, you do not. Any God that demands that you get broken and beat the hell out of yourself and be circumcised ain't a God to be serving. You got to do all of that to be, you might get something. Think about it for a second, brother. Can you think about this with me? Walk with me for a second. We are talking about a God that's telling you, you got to cut your penis. Okay, you got to slice your penis, and you got to go through the worst parts of hell, and maybe you'll get something in the end. Maybe. And if you don't get it in this life, well, once you die, maybe you'll get something. I don't know if anybody hearing me. Maybe this is just flying out the window. But what I'm saying to you, brothers, especially, no. Yes, the world is a hard place. And yes, I can't tell you how many times I have been angered when I go through my timeline or when I'm out and about and I see people that are just evil. And it just seems like they are just getting everything. It does make you angry, but I have to keep reminding myself, but it's the system that I'm in. It is wired for this. If you want to succeed in this world, the higher you go, unfortunately, in many aspects, in many areas, you're going to have to deal with some level of corruption. It's just the world. That's how this system works. Do you have to be like that? No. And then another thing I want to shut down too is you notice how this guy basically tried to, and this is another thing that Christians or religious people try to do, is that they'll try to portray people who have money as that they're just inherently evil. Like, hey, listen, you looking at these people and, even though they got all that money, they're dealing with a lot of depression and, sometimes they want to take, no, not all people that got money deal with that. Let's cut that crap too. There are a lot of people out here that are doing quite well and they're not dealing with any of those things. So yes, you can be economically, get yourself together and not have to deal with this kind of depression. There's no trade-off in the better you do, the eviler you got to be. No, it's not that at all. So let's shut that down too. Because if that was true, if that's a true statement, then the first people in the church that you need to be looking at is the pastor. If the better you do, if the greater success you get in the world means that inherently there's some evil up in there, well, you better start looking at pastor then. If the math is mathing, we better start at home. Look at the pastor now. Oh, but that's an exception. Yeah, whatever. But no, what I want to tell you is this. Yes, there are things that, yes, most people have to go through. There are hardships that we all have to endure. It's just part of life. It just is. And there's some things that unfortunately, I can't explain it. I'm not going to sit up here and tell you, oh, here's an easy path, 10 steps on how to do. I'm not going to tell you that. But what I will tell you is the importance of finding people that you can link with, that who have been down the road a little bit further along than you have, that's solid, that do have a track record, right? That you can partner with, that you can walk with. And I'm speaking to the brothers here and for you. And I'm saying, I got to keep saying brothers because I don't want y'all to feel like you're ever left out here. You're not. Okay. So it is imperative. And I'm talking real people that you can put your hands on. Do you understand what I'm saying? Not internet people, real people. This is the transition that must happen. You got to be talking to real live people. Okay. And find people in your family and household. This is what culture is really about. These are the missing elements that we have in our culture today. There aren't most of this stuff, the reaching out, the mentorships and stuff like that, most of it takes place online. It shouldn't be like that. We need that. We need to have some real elders that we can talk to and listen to. And I know, unfortunately, we're in a time right now where it's pretty difficult to find, but trust me, they're out there. But we need it. We can't be an island. As a man, we can't be islands. You know what I mean? We can't be. But the church in of itself, no, it's over. It's done. It's done. It's not going. When someone is dealing with hardships and things like that, the church ain't the place to do it. The church only function is to take and to take and to take and to take and to take from you. If I wanted that, I'll just stay out of the church and just deal with what I got to deal with in the world. You understand what I'm saying? Oh, we got to take an offering for this. Okay, now we got to take an offering for this. Okay, we got to do an offering for this. Okay, we're going to have work night. Okay, then after that, okay, we're going to do this. And we got this meeting. And then we got that meeting and all of this stuff. Meanwhile, you got all of this stuff that you're dealing with in your own house that you're trying to put together, but you ain't got time to deal with it because you got, every time you turn around, there's something at church going on. So no, the church is not equipped to handle mental health. It's not equipped for that. Period. Okay. As I was going through my timeline this week, I'm give you more examples of this. 2 examples of individuals who made some had interesting, I'll just say some very interesting choices. Again, this is the stuff that gets out. It's out on social media. It's not even, none of this stuff is private anymore. Now it's public. Nor I'm not necessarily advocating that you got to be secret, but daggone it, some things in your life you probably should not have to post about it. You know what I'm saying? But let me show you this. This is what they posted. Let me see. This is, did I not send this? Okay, clearly I didn't. All right, let me send this over here to my computer here. This woman here, fortunately for her, she did make a choice, a good choice, but you know, it's really telling. I'm just waiting for it to send. Yeah, this came over on my timeline. So, okay, let's take a listen. And this is a very short video.
You know, I asked God for peace, you know, and then I realized the only thing that he's doing is waiting on me to let go of the things that keep me from it.
So, as you saw, this young lady said that she was pretty much at the point where she was going to unalive herself. And I guess, fortunately, I don't know if it was her or someone that she knows made the choice to call the police to take her, you know, the police car, take her to the hospital so she can get help. And hopefully she's doing fine right now. But this is in your face. This is like real time. This happens a whole lot. This happens a whole lot. We hear a lot of angst against the police, for example. We just hate the police. They're pigs and all this other stuff. But if we were to be honest, there's a lot of black families that rely on the police to settle disputes, to intervene in mental breakdowns. The police, like it or not, have become an integral part of the black community. If we're going to be honest, especially in the areas of mental health. A lot of people, when they don't know how to handle someone in a mental breakdown, what do? They call the police. That's probably, I would, if I had to say that, someone can correct me, I don't know if that's the best thing to do, you know, in a lot of cases, because the police are law enforcers. And, you know, if someone's in a mental crisis, you need to make sure that someone who's trained in that, or you got to make sure that someone's trained in that is in the vicinity somewhere. Because, you know, people who are in mental crises, and you're calling a cop and that person just swinging or whatever, and then they swing and hit the cop, you're looking at a death sentence that's oftentimes legal. But this is a reality. Now we talked about social media as being a part of the black community. But we also got to look at the other fact that the police are somewhat part of an integral part of the black community, because many cases the police are called to intervene in mental health crisis within many black families. It's true. Because in many cases, these families don't have somebody that they know that they can put their hands on and say, hey, listen, Junior, he's going off. You know, can you do what you do to calm him down? A lot of times they don't have that. So who are you going to call? You're going to call the police. Someone with a gun. Right. Peace of mind counseling. She said, right here. It said a lot of police are not trained in mental health and de-escalation without lethal means. Exactly right. Exactly right. So you're calling it's a solution, but you don't want that to be the solution, because that's could be a death sentence. You know what I mean? So, but this is the truth. You know, we're gonna get into some solutions on this. We're not just talking about problems here. Let me go to this other video. Let me see here. This one, unfortunate. Let's take a look at this one.
Hey, as y'all know, it's my birthday, and I just wanted to say happy birthday to me. Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday to Kiaria. Happy birthday to me. I made it to 22, y'all. Ain't that crazy? Let's make a wish.
And that's the furthest she's going to get. She's never going to reach 23 because she decided to end it all. And where did she post that? On social media. Clearly, for whatever reason, there weren't enough people around this young lady to be able to say, hey, listen, I really need some help. Or, the people that are around her didn't have enough discernment to see, okay, something is really off here. And so the family that she could turn to was social media, all the thousands, millions of people, of unknown people out here. That's who she turned to before she decided to say lights out for herself. 22 years old. So when I sit back and I'm looking at, you've seen some of the videos like I posted this week talking about, Atlanta is Atlantis. And, I had someone else saying that, I've always been here. In fact, I was here before anybody else was. And, I'm an indigo kid and, and the space aliens dropped me off. When I tell you, see, you could sit back and scratch your head and maybe chuckle a little bit. But what we are seeing is really a societal mental breakdown. That's what we're witnessing right now. This is what we're witnessing right now. So, and it's something not to take lightly at all. Because if you're going to call yourself, we're the Black American culture and we were always here. Okay. Part of a sound, stable culture is that you're going to have mechanisms in place that if anybody is dealing with mess like this, or anybody's dealing with stuff, I actually looked it up. I said, I'm just curious how many studies were done to study if you have a stable family situation at home. Where is it? Right here. It is right here. I don't know if this is it. Is this on this one here? Yeah. If you have a, It's not on this one. But basically what I found, it was like 92 studies. Over 92 studies were done that showed that if you have a tight-knit, stable family structure, that the chances of people suffering with depression goes way down. It just almost like a rock. You drop a rock in the water, it's like it just sinks all the way to the bottom. But you have to have that tight-knit, family structure. Now, there are some caveats to that too, because some families, they can be very tight, but they can be very controlling too and talk over people. You know what I'm saying? So, those are some caveats too that you have to, keep in mind on that. Plus, there's some other things in that. But for the most part, if you do have like father, mother at home, right? You got aunties, uncles, people who, one of the things that we do a lot, we always, when you go on social media, people are always over talking one another. That's another trait of this culture. This week, I also posted a video where I talked about how, living here in Arizona, but come to find out it's not just Arizona. There are other states as well, where I'm hearing from more and more Black Americans that are saying that, it's really something, because I remember when we were younger, when we would see each other in the street, we would say, hey, what's up? We do the nod. You remember, I've been talking about this, but I'm still getting tons of comments on this. Tons of comments, both in here on TikTok. Tons of comments, and people, Black folks all over, are saying the same thing. They're saying the same exact thing. What does that say? Is that when we move to these places, like a place like Arizona that doesn't have a lot of Black folks, or some of these other places that aren't really known to have, Black communities there, what that does is the few that are there are faced with something that we have not been faced with for a long time, and that is ourselves. Meaning you're in a place where you don't have the noise of community to kind of overshadow the disconnections and the disjointedness that we have. You don't have that noise. Now it's just openness. And so when you in a space like this and you come across another Black person, you're like, hey, how you doing? And they're like, want to look the other way or act like you're not there or whatever. That does speak of a lot, doesn't it? There's a lot more deeper issues going on there. That sense of touch, just, hey, I don't know you, but I know we're the same, we're cut from the same, cloth or whatever you want to call it. And I'm just saying, what's up? And just touching base. You good? All right, let's keep, and then you just keep moving. But that's gone. That's everyone. Most people I'm talking to today, they're saying it's pretty much gone now. What happened? It's coming apart. You know what I mean? Now, what are the things we can do to start fixing some of this stuff? Number one, we got to be honest with ourselves with this, what I just talked about, that there is a problem. That's the first thing. You got to be honest with yourself and acknowledge that, yes, this is a serious problem. Yes, I am that one in my family that feels like I have to be the glue that hold everybody together. That has to be done. That has to be over with. There is no more big mama. There's no big papa. There's none of that. We're glad the elders and older people, that is a great thing to have. But at the same time, if you got fools that are like doing some stupid stuff, you can't be trying to pull all of that together. You understand what I'm saying? There's some people, they need to go to jail. I'm just going to say it. Some people just need to go to jail. I'm not going to go to jail for you. You doing some dumb stuff, and then you want to duck in my house, and I'm just going to hide in here for a moment because the streets are hot. Well, you better get your hot behind back out there because you ain't bringing me down. Well, I just gave them your number because they want no, don't give them nothing. I ain't give, don't bring my name up. Get out of here. You know what I'm saying? So there has to be this mindset of separation, not in the sense of not separate. Yeah, we got to separate ourselves from the fools, from the idiots that are amongst us. You know what I'm saying? And you got to be willing to call that stuff out for what it is. You got to be willing to call that stuff out for what it is. Even if it's in your own family, you got to be willing to call it out for what it is. And so that's one way of doing it. Number two, another thing too, is that we have to be willing to acknowledge. You got to ask yourself, because I understand the history. Trust me, I understand the history. that when you study the field of psychology, the number that they have done on black folks for years and years and years, it is criminal. It's demonic on the things they used to do to play with our minds and our emotions and stuff like that. It's horrible. It's horrific when you read about that, let alone, the psychotropic drugs and stuff that they feed us and say, we're going to give you a bunch of these and see what you do. Trust me, we're all on the same page on that, right? But we can say the same thing about the broader medical field in general, because they were experimenting on us on there too. But that ain't stopping a lot of black folks from still going to the doctor, is it? No. So you'll go to the doctor to get your high blood pressure pills, but you won't go to a licensed professional to get this, to talk to somebody about this. There's a disconnect there. You understand? And so it's imperative, it's important for you, if you're dealing with depression, deep depression at any level. You don't have to be at the point where you're about to jump over off a bridge or something like that. You don't even have to be that much. But some of you have been dealing with stuff for years and years and years, and you need to talk to somebody. You really do. And so my encouragement to you is, this is the time to do it. This is the time. Don't wait to 2026. The Lord is in the mix. You know how the church does. The church, they do be doing this stuff. Oh, I'm gonna wait till then. No, we're in 2025. This is your opportunity now. You're listening to this now. You have opportunities now where you can start adjusting and getting these things fixed. You know what I'm saying? And you need to. And the crazy people in the lives, you got to get them out. You got to tell them it's time to go. Some of y'all have been pouring yourself for years. You have been pouring your advice to people and saying, listen, so-and-so, Mabel, I'm just going to mention the name, Mabel, please, Mabel, don't do that. And that's an old name. I'm dating myself now. Who named Mabel? Last Mabel I know is Mabel King. But anyway, let's just say Judith. Okay, we'll just say a Judith. No, let's say John. Okay, how about we say John? Okay, we'll say John. John, hey, listen. Bruh, listen, man, you ain't got to keep doing that, man. Listen, let me come over there and let me show you how to do this. And let me show you how to do this and how we can get, all right, man, bet. And you spend days with John. Y'all be sitting down. You show him how to find a job and show him how he can do this and that and how he can do that. And you just pouring yourself in him, just constantly. You just pouring yourself in him. And then he still goes out there. You get a phone call, John, where's John? They picked him up. Yeah, he was doing that. And then you go, all right, let's do this again, John. Let's do this again. And some of y'all been doing this for years and going back and forth, trying to help these folks. And they still don't get it. Now it's this. This is, do I need to put a shirt on there now and say it's Deuce's time? I know it's hard, but it's time to cut some of these people off. But now the other thing I would say too, now that you got now that you get those crazy people out of the way, now it's got to be about you. Now you have to start prioritizing yourself. You got to start looking in, what are some of the things I need to do to fix me, and seeing someone who is licensed, I would highly recommend that. But you got to be, you just don't go through, we don't even have phone books anymore, right? But really take the time. And peace and mind counseling, if you could put maybe some suggestions in the chat, because this is someone who does this for a living, but what are some general things that people can do when they're looking for a good counselor? Because we know that it ain't just a random whatever. No, we don't do that. You can't do that, because you mess around. You mess around and get a Nazi. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Why you got that swastika up there? That's just something my grandchildren gave me. It's like, no, you don't want to do that. But you do want to look for people, find out about whoever it is that you're looking for. You want to find if there's some similarities in background. Maybe they specialize in whatever it is that you're dealing with. If it's a family situation, maybe it's something, some other area where you're dealing with. Look for the people like that have similar backgrounds. Some people are mixed on this. My thing is, as long as you get the help you need, a lot of times people feel that you have to go to someone black, to get right counseling. And whatever you do, don't go to a white person. I don't really subscribe to that. I really don't. I do see that there are advantages of going with somebody who because one of the things I do know is people who have shared life experiences, and usually most of the time that's going to be someone black, but you might be in an area where there aren't any black, licensed counselors, right? What do you do in a situation like that? So yeah, it's, these are real things. She said, look for a specific niche that covers trauma, relationships. Exactly. That's very good. And subscribe to her channel too. But yeah, you want to look for people who have those, those kind of backgrounds. Like I said, as far as the race thing is concerned, again, you get to feel that out, because ultimately, like, and we all we've talked about this many times, you could pick up somebody's vibe, and you don't just commit to it. You can actually go, I'm quite certain you'll be able to go at least talk to them so you can get a feel for the person, before you make that decision, like, okay, we're going to sit down and have that, and we're going to talk that talk. You know what I mean? Before you actually sit down and commit. So you should do that across the board anyway. She saw years of experience is important, but some therapists that are older have been burnt out as potential therapists if they have their own therapist. Very good. Very good. There's a friend of ours that we know, and she's in therapy as well, licensed, and she was telling, I know she was telling my wife, she said, yeah, I need a therapist. She said, I have I need one. She actually has one. Because the stuff that she was saying that she was taking on, it's got to go somewhere. You know what I mean? It's definitely got to go somewhere. These people aren't just trash cans where they just take in all your problems and listen to your stuff all day and then go out and smoke a cigarette and then it just goes away. That's not how it works. You know what I mean? They gotta get help. You know what I mean? They got to get help too. So yeah, that's a very good. I'm glad she brought that up. Ask them, do they have a therapist? You definitely want to make sure of that. So ask some of that. But yeah, these generational things, they have to break. And I'm here to tell you that the church is not equipped to do that. The church is there to enslave, to use that oppression, that depression that you're dealing with, to their advantage. That's what they do. They're not, it's like a hospital. Hospital isn't in the business of healing you. The hospital is in the business of keeping you sick so that they can make more money off of you. Well, the church is the same way. Don't they say the church is a hospital? Don't they say the same thing, right? About the church, they say the church is a hospital. Okay, well, if the hospital is in business of keeping you sick so that they can make more money off of you, then that means, if you're going to follow the logic, that means that the church is in business of keeping you depressed, keeping you broke, keeping you angry, keeping you divorced, keeping you in whatever state you're in so that they can take advantage of you. Because once you are a person that you're full of confidence and life is going where it is and you know what you're doing and all of that, then you can't, ain't no need to go to talk to pastor. It's something, ain't it? But yeah, so those are the main things I would say. And there's some other things too, but those are good starter points there. And I appreciate everybody's input for sure. But let me put this up on the screen here too. Here's some things here. Come on, man. These are some things you can do at home. Now, again, this is not to replace professional help. Okay. This is not to in no way, shape or form, but these are some things you can do on your own. Okay. Here's some herbs here. Ashwagandha powder, adaptogen with consistent RCT meta-analysis signals for lowering stress and anxiety and improving mood. Great as an evening latte in cocoa. And you got turmeric, curcumin. Multiple meta-analysis showed that adjunct benefits on depressive symptoms, mild to moderate, especially alongside standard care. That turmeric is another one. Maca powder, small human trials report reductions in depression scores, notably in postmenopausal women, and better mood, sexual well-being. Easy to add to smoothies. Lavender essential oil, that's a good one. Best evidence for oral lavender extract reducing anxiety, often co-present with depression. Aromatherapy can still aid relaxation, sleep, hygiene, so forth. Chamomile, that's another one. Oral chamomile extract has RCT signals for anxiety and exploratory antidepressant effects, so forth and so on. And then cacao husk tea, it has a lot of benefits in it as well. And, here's some ways that you can take it. All right. And yes, I will have to plug in it. Yes, we have all of that at sombertree.com. So make sure you check it out. But again, that is not to replace professional help. But these are things that what I just read off to you, we all need that. You know what I'm saying? Because life can be a bit challenging, for sure. And we need natural ways to help us to offset those things, right? But we got to be honest with ourselves. We got to be honest and truthful with ourselves in order to get on the road to recovery. And brothers, listen, let me tell you again, one last time. Again, yes, I understand a lot. Yes, every day I think about that. I'm like, man, these people, why does it seem like these devils always seem like they're doing well? They sneeze and money comes out. You know what I mean? And whereas you got people out here that are really trying to do the right thing, and it's like they're just struggling. Why is it like that? Well, unfortunately, like I said, again, there are some things I can't answer. I can't answer that. But what I can tell you is I think we can conclude that the system that is running this world is one that is based off of evil. It is, right? But that doesn't mean that you have to be evil. You don't have to conform to that. There are many things that you can do to build a space for yourself where you can be successful, but more importantly, happy. You know what I mean? Be happy. That's what we want. That's the goal. Not to have billions of dollars in your pocket, and that's not a bad thing. But we want you to be happy, right? And yes, happy and successful, whatever success means in that right successful, right? In the right sense, not evil success, but right successful. Yes, you can be a successful entrepreneur, make a lot of money, and be happy. What the church would tell you is, well, if you're making a lot of money, that means you're doing something. No, let's just break that up. That's not true. There are people who are successful and they're not shady or they're not stealers or anything like that, right? So let's get out of that poverty kind of mindset, deception stuff that they throw out here to us. So no, we can, in fact, be happy and successful. But, when you put this prefrontal cortex in action, you'll begin to figure things out. You will. And speaking of which, on Sombertree, on our YouTube channel of Sombertree, the short answer, someone said, are there going to be any Labor Day sales? I believe so. Check your email and I'll find out for you. But I think there's going to be one. Yeah, keep your eyes out for that if you're on our email list. We'll definitely send one out. Okay, so last thing here, we're doing a series on the brain over on Sombertree. The latest one is on an occipital lobe. On the occipital lobe, we're covering every part of the brain. And this one, this part of the brain is referred to as the camera. Very short video, and we're just going through the details for you on that, and just something else to learn, about our brains and how we can, because once we get this set in place, in order, and optimized, man, you're going to see just how much capability you have as an individual. And that's what we are here about. We're about that, to get people optimized for life, and that's what we're all about here. So that is all I have. Thank you so much for tuning in to this live broadcast. Really appreciate that. Hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. I don't know if we're going to go live tomorrow. Not sure, whatever. But yeah, keep your eyes on our short page, because I'm slicing up that video I did on the whole history of right hand, using right hand and left hand and all of that. So I'm slicing that up and I'm just sending it out. So part 2, I'll upload that later on this evening. But if you just want to watch the whole video, it's on here. So you can check that out too. So that's it. Thank you so much. Again, really appreciate it. I hope you guys have a wonderful evening, and we'll be talking again soon. You take care. See you next time.